Imagine a being so powerful and mysterious that its very name is an enigma to most people. Today, we will begin our journey to uncover the secrets of one of the most fascinating creatures mentioned in the Bible, the Behemoth. But before we dive into the depths of this story, there's something important you need to know. The correct pronunciation of this creature's name is not Behemoth, as many tend to say. In Hebrew, the correct sound is remo, without adding an extra vowel at the end, something many confuse. This detail may seem small, but it is crucial to understanding the essence of Behemoth. It appears not just as any ordinary word, but as a force of nature, a manifestation of divine power described in a way that few other creatures receive. And this distinction begins with how we call it, tracing back to ancient times. So, remember, when we speak of Behemoth, we are referring to something grand, something beyond immediate comprehension. Now that we've corrected this first key, we can unlock the door to the true meaning of this creature in the scriptures. Let's discover who or what Behemoth truly is. Now that we understand the correct pronunciation of Behemoth, let's go back in time and explore its first appearances in the Bible. If you've ever flipped through the pages of the Old Testament, you might have come across this word without realizing its significance. The Behemoth appears several times, especially in texts like the book of Deuteronomy. There, the most common translation is simple: cattle, beast, or even animal. It seems ordinary, right? In these instances, nothing suggests anything extraordinary. We're talking about common creatures, those that share the fields and pastures with humans, feed families, and sustain the daily life of rural living at the time. For example, in Deuteronomy, there's a passage that speaks of the curses that would come: teeth of beasts and the venom of serpents that slither. Here, the word behemoth appears again, but in a subtle way. It refers to an animal, perhaps cattle, beasts of the field, something we can see and even touch. Up until this point, the behemoth seems like just another part of creation, one of the creatures that inhabit the earth alongside humans. But what few realize is that this is just the surface. The behemoth that appears here is not the extraordinary creature that is about to be revealed. The Bible, like nature, hides layers of meaning, and the behemoth you thought you knew is just the beginning. Now that we understand how the behemoth appears subtly in the early parts of the Bible, let's leap forward to one of the most enigmatic moments in all of Scripture, chapter 40 of the book of Job. Here, the behemoth is no longer just a simple mention of cattle or animals of the field. From this moment on, it transforms into something entirely new, something grand, almost mythical. Imagine Job, in the midst of his trials, receiving a vision of something no man had witnessed before. God begins to describe an immense creature, something so vast and powerful that it defies human imagination. "Look at the behemoth," says God, and what follows is a description completely unlike anything we know. This behemoth is not just any animal. It is a gigantic beast with unimaginable strength, capable of moving mountains with its steps and challenging raging rivers without fear. It eats grass like an ox. Yes, but its strength is unlike anything we've ever seen. The muscles of its belly are like steel, and its bones are as powerful as the strongest metal. And the tail? This is one of the most intriguing parts. Its tail is compared to a cedar, a giant, rigid, and imposing tree. It's not something you would associate with a common animal like a hippopotamus or an elephant. No, the behemoth is something more, something far beyond what we can imagine today. The description goes on, speaking of its invulnerability, how it is unfazed by the forces of nature, and how no human can capture or control it. Job's creature is unique. It seems to blend the familiar with the impossible. And it is here that we begin to realize we are facing something much greater than the simple cattle mentioned in other parts of the Bible. The question arises, what exactly is the behemoth? This gigantic creature that God describes to Job, so powerful, so untamable, has it ever walked this earth, or is it yet to come? Now that you have in mind this grand vision of the behemoth in the book of Job, the question that has intrigued scholars for centuries arises. What exactly is this creature? And this is where the speculations begin. Some believe that the behemoth described in Job could be something we know, like a hippopotamus. After all, it's a gigantic herbivorous creature with great strength. Makes sense, right? Well, not exactly. there's a fundamental problem with this interpretation: the tail. Remember that the Bible compares the behemoth's tail to a cedar, a strong and imposing tree. The hippopotamus, as massive as it may be, doesn't have a tail that fits that description. So other theories emerge, and this is where the imagination really starts to take flight. Some scholars and even paleontology enthusiasts suggest that the behemoth might be a dinosaur, perhaps a type of sauropod with an enormous tail, immense strength, and a presence that could have inspired ancient legends. Imagine for a moment that the behemoth is in fact a prehistoric creature, something that coexisted with humans in a very distant time. Or perhaps it was a vision from a time before our era, a reflection of the grandeur of God's creation that, for some reason, disappeared before we could witness it up close. But even this explanation has its flaws. The description of the behemoth in Job seems to speak of something not just in the past, but of a creature that may yet exist. Something that, according to some, doesn't belong to the realm of fossils, but rather to a spiritual plane, a force of nature representing something much deeper than a mere extinct animal. The truth is, no matter how hard we try, there is no clear answer. The behemoth remains a mystery, something that eludes our attempts to explain it simply. And perhaps that's exactly what makes it so fascinating. It is beyond our understanding, a figure that challenges our efforts to rationalize the vastness of divine creation. Now the stage is set for something even more terrifying. Because right after the behemoth, the Bible introduces us to another creature, even more fearsome: the Leviathan. If you thought the behemoth was an impressive creature, brace yourself, because in the next chapter of the book of Job, an even more terrifying figure emerges, a force that defies everything we know: the Leviathan. The Leviathan is not just a creature, he is a living legend of terror and power. Described as an untamable beast, no human has ever been able to face him and emerge victorious. Imagine a being so immense, so fierce, that nothing in this world can contain him. He is the ultimate predator, one that cannot be caught with a hook or trapped by human means. His presence is so terrifying that even the mere mention of his name evokes fear. His scales are like armor, impenetrable, protecting him from any attempt to harm him. And when he moves, something even more astonishing happens. Fire seems to leap from his mouth. Yes, fire. As if within him dwells the power of chaos, pure evil, something we can't even begin to fully comprehend. It is said that his eyes glow with a dark light, like burning embers, and his breath ignites everything around him. The Leviathan is the pinnacle of destruction, a force of nature that cannot be stopped. He fears no one, not even the greatest warriors or the most powerful weapons. He defies everything we know about the natural world. So what is he? Some have tried to compare him to a gigantic crocodile, a type of monstrous serpent, or even another dinosaur. But none of these explanations truly capture the essence of what the Leviathan represents. He is much more than an animal. He is the embodiment of evil, of darkness, and like the behemoth, he exists to remind us of something much greater. In the book of Job, the Leviathan is described as a creature that cannot be defeated. And unlike the behemoth, who despite his strength still lives peacefully among the animals, the Leviathan is pure chaos. He is a threat to everything around him, a beast that challenges the very order of creation. But here's the most important detail. Like the behemoth, the Leviathan is also in God's hands. As destructive as he may seem, he too is part of the grand divine plan, and his true nature, like his purpose, remains shrouded in mystery. And now you may be wondering, what is the role of this monstrous creature in the greater story? How does the Leviathan connect with the behemoth? Prepare yourself, for this journey is far from over. The encounter between these two forces is approaching, and the outcome of that battle promises to be something we could never have imagined. Now that we know both the behemoth and the Leviathan, vast and powerful creatures, the question that arises is, what do they truly represent? What we need to understand is that both the behemoth and the Leviathan are more than just monstrous beings described in the book of Job. They carry something much greater. They symbolize opposing forces that act upon the world in profound and mysterious ways. The behemoth, as colossal as it may be, is a peaceful creature. It represents the raw strength of nature, but a strength that lives in harmony. It is herbivorous, grazing among other animals, ruling the land with its power, but not seeking confrontation. The behemoth's strength is not in violence, but in presence. It symbolizes divine creation, the natural order, life that thrives even amidst chaos. Its mission seems to be to protect and preserve. Now, the Leviathan is its complete opposite. It embodies chaos, pure destruction. While the behemoth is steady and stable, the Leviathan is fierce, unpredictable, and devastating. The Leviathan is unrestrained evil, the terror that threatens to consume everything around it. It does not conform to order. It is the force that unravels, the shadow that spreads over the earth, the challenge to creation itself. Together, these two giants represent the balance between good and evil, order and chaos. But there is something deeper here. Behemoth and Leviathan are not just physical creatures, they are symbols of spiritual forces at work in the world. And, as with all dualities, they must one day meet. The behemoth, with its calm strength, represents good, the peaceful creation of God, while the Leviathan, with its flames and uncontrollable destruction, represents the evil that corrupts and challenges the very nature of existence. And, as in all great stories, these two forces will inevitably face each other. The Book of Job gives us a glimpse of something far greater than a simple battle between fantastical creatures. It reminds us of a spiritual truth. Good and evil are always present in our existence, and no matter how opposing they may seem, both are part of the divine plan. And this vision prepares us for the great confrontation to come, because at some point, the behemoth and the Leviathan will stand face to face. And when that happens, the forces they represent, the forces of creation and destruction, will collide. And now we arrive at the moment everyone has been waiting for, the epic confrontation between these two titanic forces, the behemoth and the Leviathan. Get ready, because this is not just a battle between two giants. It's a battle between good and evil, between order and chaos, between creation and destruction. Imagine the scene. The behemoth, with all its tranquil strength, stands firm, imposing, like a living mountain. Its muscles are like steel, its tail, strong like a cedar, sways slowly as it watches the horizon. Around it, animals graze peacefully, knowing they are under the protection of this colossal being that seems indestructible. It represents good, but a good that is silent, that does not seek conflict, that acts with firmness and balance. But then, from the other side, the Leviathan appears. The waters churn around it, violent waves rise, and fire gleams in its eyes as if hell itself were lurking. Its tail slices through the air like a whip, and its scales shimmer like sharp blades. It knows no peace, it knows only destruction. Wherever it goes, it leaves a trail of chaos and fear. It does not come to coexist, it comes to conquer, to challenge the balance that the behemoth symbolizes. And then, the inevitable happens. They meet. The behemoth, using its massive strength, charges at the Leviathan, its heavy legs moving with the weight of mountains. It tries to use its horns to pierce the Leviathan's scaly skin, but the Leviathan is agile, dodging and countering with its sharp blade-like scales, trying to tear through the behemoth's indestructible flesh. It's a titanic struggle, a collision of forces so intense that the very environment seems to bend under the impact. The Leviathan, with its fiery teeth and cutting scales, tries in every way to subdue the behemoth, but the behemoth stands firm, resisting with all its might, striking with its tail and massive head. And then, at the climax of this epic battle, something unexpected happens. Both, with their colossal powers, end up destroying each other. The behemoth, with its powerful horns, pierces the Leviathan's scales, while the Leviathan, with its sharp claws and fire, breaks through the behemoth's impenetrable defenses. It's as if creation itself bows under the weight of this battle. The two creatures fall, destroyed by their own forces. There is no victor. Neither the creation represented by the behemoth nor the chaos embodied in the Leviathan remains standing. Both succumb to each other's power. And here in this mutual destruction, there is a profound message. Good and evil, order and chaos, in their purest form, cancel each other out. Neither of these forces can completely dominate the world. What remains is something greater, something that transcends both the behemoth and the Leviathan. Because, in the end, there is a force that controls them both, a force that is above all this, the power of God, the only one capable of subduing both good and evil in their fullness. This battle, which seemed to be the final confrontation, is not the end, but a reminder that no matter how powerful these forces may be, only divinity holds absolute control over the destiny of the world. And so, after the end of the great battle, when the two titanic forces, the Behemoth and the Leviathan, finally fall, what remains? What did this struggle represent for the world and for humanity? Here lies the true mystery revealed. The death of these creatures is not just the end of a physical battle between two colossal monsters. It represents something much deeper and more symbolic. With the fall of the Behemoth, the raw force of good and creation, and the destruction of the Leviathan, the embodiment of chaos and evil, the story brings us to a crucial point: the banquet of the righteous. According to tradition, after the death of these two creatures, the righteous, those who walked in righteousness throughout their lives, will be rewarded. Imagine the scene: a great heavenly banquet where the righteous of all ages gather. They sit at the table and are served the meat of the Behemoth and the Leviathan. But what does this really mean? This banquet is a powerful metaphor. The meat of these two creatures represents the forces that have shaped the world: good and evil. The righteous, those who live their lives seeking balance, combating evil without straying from righteousness, now receive their reward. They feast on the fruits of their spiritual battles, the constant struggle between order and chaos that they faced throughout their journeys. The banquet symbolizes the final victory of justice, the divine reward for those who resisted temptations and challenges in life. But there is something even deeper here. By serving the meat of the Behemoth and the Leviathan, God is showing us that both forces, good and evil, are part of the divine plan. They were created by God, and in the end, are under His control. The banquet of the righteous is not only a celebration of the victory over evil, but a lesson that all things, good or bad, are in God's hands, and He alone has the power to balance these forces. Thus, the story reminds us that the Behemoth, despite its greatness, and the Leviathan, despite its terrible destruction, were divine creations, representations of the forces at work in the world. The banquet is a promise that, no matter how invincible evil may seem or how fragile good may appear, in the end, those who remain faithful and righteous will receive their reward. With this, we are left with an essential truth. The power that truly governs the world is not the chaos of the Leviathan, nor the raw strength of the Behemoth, but divine justice. And the righteous, those who lived in righteousness, will be the ones to partake in this great banquet, where everything will be balanced, where good will triumph in the most definitive way, and where God's plan will be fully revealed. This is the true conclusion of the story. Not about monsters or battles, but about the victory of justice, righteousness, and the divine plan that transcends everything we know.